Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims, to day 252 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. Have you ever had a person show you kindness and you just totally buy into it and you think it is genuine and sincere, and then it turns out that it's not? It always makes us feel a little tender in the heart, doesn't it? Just kind of wounded when we put our faith and trust in somebody, and it's usually somebody that we know pretty well, a close friend or friends or family members that can show us kindness, and we think it's genuine, and we just fall into it, hook, line, and sinker, and then it turns out that that was not their intention at all. In fact, they were looking to set snares. And that's how, at least how Sister Faustina describes it today. So that's what we're going to talk about. Reading through that reminded me of a story from my childhood that I'm going to share on the other end. It's not to draw pity, but I just could relate, and I thought I would share it with you all. So today we will be in Notebook 4, numbers 1239 through 1242. O living host, O hidden Jesus, you see the condition of my soul. Of myself, I am unable to utter your holy name. I cannot bring forth from my heart the fire of love, but kneeling at your feet, I cast upon the tabernacle the gaze of my soul, a gaze of faithfulness. As for you, you are ever the same, while within my soul a change takes place. I trust that the time will come when you will unveil your countenance, and your child will again see your sweet face. I am astonished, Jesus, that you can hide yourself from me for so long, and that you can restrain the enormous love you have for me. In the dwelling of my heart, I am listening and waiting for your coming, O only treasure of my heart. The Lord Jesus greatly protects his representatives on earth. How closely he is united with them, and he orders me to give priority to their opinion over his. I have come to know the great intimacy which exists between Jesus and the priest. Jesus defends whatever the priest says and often complies with his wishes, and sometimes makes his own relationship with a soul depend on the priest's advice. O Jesus, through a special grace, I have come to know very clearly to what extent you have shared your power and mystery with them, more so than with the angels. I rejoice in this, for it is all for my good. O my Jesus, when someone is unkind and unpleasant toward us, it is difficult enough to bear this kind of suffering, but this is very little in comparison to a suffering which I cannot bear, namely, that which I experience when someone exhibits kindness towards me and then lays snares at my feet at every step I take. What great willpower is necessary to love such a soul for God's sake. Many a time one has to be heroic in loving such a soul as God demands. If contact with that person were infrequent, it would be easier to endure. But when one lives in close contact with the person and experiences this at each step, this demands a very great effort. My Jesus, penetrate me through and through so that I might be able to reflect you in my whole life. Divinize me so that my deeds may have supernatural value. Grant that I may have love, compassion, and mercy for every soul without exception. O my Jesus, each of your saints reflects one of your virtues. I desire to reflect your compassionate heart, full of mercy. I want to glorify it. Let your mercy, O Jesus, be impressed upon my heart and soul like a seal, and this will be my badge in this and the future life. Glorifying your mercy is the exclusive task of my life. When I was in middle school, I was in the Girl Scouts, and usually each summer we would take a trip somewhere as a troop. And the summer of my 7th grade year, we took a trip to Estes Park, to the YMCA of the Rockies resort place. And my mother came along, And I went with, my troop, girls that I had grown up with since first grade. And we were all really good buddies and everything. But we were getting to that age where, that split happens. Those that want to grow up and are boy crazy and all into makeup and, doing the very popular things, and those who are not yet there. And I was one of those that was not yet there. I was very much a tomboy. I loved to play sports. I could care less about guys, and I wanted nothing to do with makeup and hair and all the popular stuff. And that was just how I was at that age. So anyway, we were going up to the YMCA of the Rockies, and when we got there, every girl in my troop was totally into the guys. They just wanted to go out and find guys, middle school guys. And I wanted no part of it. I wanted to do all the activities. I wanted to go horseback riding. I wanted to play mini golf. I wanted to play the sports that were available, the archery. I wanted to go to the arts and crafts barn. I wanted to do the hikes. That's what I was interested in doing. And our troop leader every day would organize some activity for us all to do together. And then a lot of the time we were free to do whatever we wanted. And so when I was hanging out with my other friends, my other troop members, they all wanted to go around and hunt for boys. And I wasn't into it. So, I was like, yeah, I'd rather do something else. And they didn't want to do it. And I would suggest different things like, let's go play this sport. Let's go play sand volleyball. Let's go miniature golfing. Let's go do this. And they didn't want to do any of that. And I didn't want to go chase boys. And so they were kind of upset with me. I wasn't really upset with them. I just wanted to do all the fun things. And because I didn't care about, hunting down boys, I just didn't want to go along. Well, it kind of got to be a source of contention. They were getting annoyed that I didn't want to come with them to go meet boys. And so one day they came up to me as a group and they're like, all right, Amy, we'll do something that you want to do. And I was like, really? They're like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I was like, okay, well, I'd like to go play mini golf. And they're like, okay, well, meet us at the mini golf place at such and such a time. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, okay. So they went off to do their thing. I went off to do my thing. And at that time, I showed up at the mini golf place and they weren't there. And I waited for a long time. And then I saw them with a group of boys off laughing at me a little ways away. And it had all been a cruel joke at my expense. They made me think that they were actually going to do something with me. And I just remember feeling super defeated. And so I tried to hold my head up and I walked back to where we slept in the lodge, went to my room, and I just kind of sat down on the bunk bed and I started to cry. Well, about this time, my mother came in and she was like, well, what are you doing in here? And so I explained what happened. And it's one of the most vivid memories I have of my mother when I was young. She gave me a big hug and she said, let's go do something together. And I said, well, do you want to go to the arts and crafts barn? And she's like, absolutely, let's go. And so we went, and it was such a special moment with my mom. She didn't wallow in pity with me. She just gave me a big hug, smiled, and I knew everything was going to be okay. I'm kind of getting emotional because I remember that day so vividly, and I remember how wonderfully my mother responded to that. And so today, Sister Faustina is talking about one of the things that she struggles to bear is when people exhibit kindness toward her, but then they lay snares at her feet. And when I was reading through that, it immediately brought to mind that story of when I was in 7th grade. My friends had tried to show me kindness, all in an effort to lay snares at my feet. And it really hurts. It really wounds you, doesn't it? It just makes your heart so tender and vulnerable. It caused a forever rift between me and those girls. because I didn't trust them anymore. I didn't trust their kindness and I didn't trust their friendship anymore. And so, I graduated high school with them, but we were never ever close again. Never ever, because it just was a hard thing to take. And they never apologized for it. And I have forgiven them. I mean, obviously, I still remember it. I remember it mostly because of my mother's response. And it was such a loving and comforting response. It made me feel so good. And it reminded me that, a mother's love is so necessary and so perfect sometimes. It just hits the spot. So, what did Sister Faustina say to do? She even says, many a time one has to be heroic in loving such a soul as God demands, because those girls that, treated me in that way, I'm still called to love them, and it can feel heroic sometimes. I didn't realize that when I was in 7th grade, but looking back now, I know that, I don't hold any ill will against them. In fact, many of them I'm, still acquaintances with. I know them, I'm friendly with them. But if that person is in your life right now and you're trying to deal with them, it can be a heroic thing to try to love them as God demands. And she says, even if contact with that person were infrequent, it would be easier to endure. But when one lives in close contact with that person and experiences this at each step, this demands a very great effort. And so, this could be a coworker, a sibling, even a spouse. These types of things can happen. And so, how are we supposed to handle this? Well, we talked about healthy boundaries yesterday, and that still applies. If they're being super toxic and really being abusive, then we need to set up appropriate boundaries. But sometimes people just sin and act out in a moment of weakness and show you kindness only to lay snares for whatever reason. Maybe it brings them some kind of a sick happiness or joy, in quotes. What does Sister Faustina say to do? She says, grant that I may have love, compassion, and mercy for every soul without exception. And that is hard to do, but that's what Christ calls us to do. And so that may just be needing to take some time in prayer, remove yourself from that person for a little while so that you're not super emotional when dealing with them. Or it might just be that you need to tell them that what they did hurt you. Too often we're afraid to have confrontation, but confrontation doesn't always need to lead into a knockdown, drag out fight. Sometimes we just need to say, hey, when you were showing me kindness earlier and then this happened, this really hurt my heart. I put a lot of faith and trust in you, and what you did really hurt me. Can you tell me what was going on? And maybe they can just say, gosh, man, I was having a bad day, or, I let pride get the better of me, or I was feeling very envious of you, and so I kind of wanted to bring you down a notch. Who knows? But sometimes what needs to happen is talking it out and letting them know. Because sometimes people just don't know that they're doing jerky things. It seems like they would, but, people have brought things to my attention before that I didn't realize were not so nice. And sometimes you just don't see it in yourself. So talking it out is something that probably and should happen, especially if you work with that person or it's a spouse or a sibling. Well, gosh, anybody, talk it out if it's appropriate. And then lastly, make sure that you ask God for the graces to show them love, compassion, and mercy because of how difficult that is. You're probably going to need a lot of actual graces from Christ. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I'll see you back here for day 253. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.